Joining me today is Tom Howard, who's running for the New Hampshire legislature, Sullivan, District 9. That's the big flotilla, isn't it, Tom?
Yes, it is. And I bet you want to know what towns it is.
As I said, it's the big flotilla.
Yes,
how many towns are there?
8 or 9. That's well, I'll count them as Unity, Newport, Springfield, Croydon, Sunapee. I always do this. Grantham, Plainfield, and Cornish. So 8.
Okay.
8 towns, yeah.
So it's a big flotilla. How do you get around to all the towns?
Well, if Corbin Park wasn't there, it would be a lot easier. But you just drive. You know, you just spend a day campaigning, and like last Saturday, I spent all day in Cornish and Plainfield, and you spend a day in one section and then another day in another.
Now, you've been an elected representative before.
I have.
And so tell me, what about that caused you to want to run, or why are you running?
It's funny. It's an interesting. A friend of mine who actually is running Spec Powers and I are business partners. We're not business partners, but we've in business together. And, I've always talked politics with him. We always banter back and forth about different things. And in 2008, he suggested, he said, "Why don't you put your money where your mouth is, Tom, and put your name down and run?" And I did. And I put on a meager campaign, and I won. And then I ran again in 2010, and won again. And then I ran again in 2012 when I lost that election. And I'm going to try again. I think that there's a lot of things that I don't know if I feel like I didn't accomplish, but I feel like I was part of a process, especially in my second term when I'm a Republican, as hopefully, I don't know if people know that or not, but in my second term, we were in the majority, and I really think we got a lot of things done. A lot of things were left undone, too. And one of the, in particular, is the right to work. I really think that the right to work initiative is important in my world. I'm a small businessman. I have a small farm, and I understand that the economy and jobs is really what it's all about as far as getting New Hampshire back on track. And we're hampered by, regulations and unions, and I think that the right to work process, and if we allow the state to become a right to work, which maybe that's not the right term, but what it does is it allows people that are represented by unions, if they don't want to be, they don't have to pay union dues.
The dues associated with that.
Right, and what it does is it allows some of the bigger corporations to see that New Hampshire is a business-friendly state, and they will invest in this state. And as we've seen in the last few years, companies are leaving. Even Sturm Ruger's, there's talk or in the rumor mill that they may be bugging out.
Well, and they're building a new factory, and it's not in New Hampshire.
That's right. Yeah. And it's in a state that's a right-to-work state. In my view, that's one of the main things that I'd like to help out in.
Do you see this really as more symbolic in sending a signal, or the right to work? Well, just no right to work. I mean, very few people in New Hampshire are a member of a union. Right. So, I mean, is it really sort of about sending a signal to the larger corporations that New Hampshire is different from its surrounding states?
Possibly. That's a good question, and it's a complicated issue. I think in a lot of ways, New Hampshire is really not business friendly, particularly for small businesses. The business profit tax is it's too high. I think we're the third highest in the country. We really hamper. We kind of tax the small businesses out of the state. I mean, to run a business in the state makes it relatively difficult. Part of the equation is the right to work, and it may be symbolic to a certain degree, but it certainly opens up the conversation that maybe they do want to invest here. And if we can, and part of one of the reasons I want to go to Concord is to help work on some of the legislation that will allow a more business-friendly state.
So what are the key things that you think that would make New Hampshire a more business-friendly state that need to get accomplished?
I think, one, a reduction in the business profit tax. I think a more level tax base, if you will, that doesn't put the burden on the small business. I think bringing the right to work to the state, those two in and of themselves would go a long way in helping small businesses start and helping the businesses that are here continue to stay, and when they do grow, they won't go somewhere else.
And if you were to reduce the business profits tax or the business enterprise tax, right, the other way they get funds from that, small businesses, big businesses, would you try to offset those savings or the loss of revenue with cuts in the expense or shift to a different tax?
Well, I've taken the plunge. I really don't think a broad-based tax is the way to go in New Hampshire. New Hampshire really is it stands alone, not alone, but it stands really in high regard to a lot of people. That's why a lot of people move here from other states, is that we have no sales tax, we have no income tax, and people like that. There is a burden, I think, to a certain degree on property taxes. You know, people pay a lot for property tax and the business profit tax, so there has to be a way of getting the revenue. But also, you know, I really think, and being in Concord for 2 terms, I see that there is a lot of waste in government, and I think it's inherent in government anyway, that just bureaucracies like to spend. I mean, I could go down the list of different agencies from just in the state of New Hampshire that, you know, have budgets that are just huge, and they spend money that really isn't necessary. And I think that if we look at that a little closer, we could save tons of money.
Okay, well, we're out of time in this segment.